Hey guys, Fred Bowler here. Welcome to my channel, The Wildlife Ambassador. And today is going to be part 2 of the natural history of black bears, the Florida black bear. There are some differences between the American black bear and the Florida black bear when it comes to foraging and denning and such. Alrighty, so sit back and let's go. The natural range between male and female Florida black bears differs. Females may have a range of 25 square miles. The males are going to have a larger range, up to a maximum of about 250 square miles, with a normal range being about 60 square miles. The sizes of these ranges depend on the availability of food, water, reproduction, and denning sites. Like us, bears have favorite places to go and see. And in their range, they've made sure that they have places that to go and get water, food, and shelter. And so often you'll see these big trails through the bush that are easy to follow, and it's easy to tell that this is a bear trail. Bears leave obvious signs of being around, such as their footprints. And even though they have 5 toes, most of the time you're only going to see 4 toes on the paws because they're the most prominent ones, and they tend to lift the 5th toe. And with black bears, you don't always see the claw imprints because the claw is kind of raised up on top of the big fat toe. Sometimes the prints aren't so obvious. This is a print that you can just about only see the wrinkling of the palms or the heel of the foot, and this is a very fresh track. If you see a track like this, it means that bear was there only a short time ago, because wind and other factors tend to erase these little ridges of the palms. Bears also leave behind hair on their travels wherever they're going through, whether it be the thickets, the thorny bushes, tree bark, rubbing against trees, going over fences. In this case, it's a barbed wire fence that has bear hair in it. And you'll notice a seed pod that is from Caesar's weed. And Caesar's weed, if you know it and have hiked through it, will leave many, many seed pods. We call them hitchhikers on your clothing. Kind of a pain in the tail. An interesting note is this is how biologists collect the census on bear populations, is by hair snags. They'll string barbed wire from one area to another and then do the DNA sampling of the individual hairs that they get in these snags to get an estimate of the populations of bears. Now, as I mentioned, bears will walk many, many miles to get areas such as favorite trees. Bears do have their favorite trees, and they'll mark these trees either by scratching, rubbing, or peeing on them, such in the case of males. Here are some bear scratches that I found on a hike, and now sometimes with these favorite trees, the trees are so old and bears have been coming to them for centuries. And a lot of trees you'll find the bark is smooth up on a curve end where the bears have been climbing that tree for a long time and over the generations of the bears. This bear had a favorite telephone pole. This telephone pole has so many scratches on it, and he's leaving hair in it as well while he's scratching. And this one was down by the river, on the Wekiva River. So that was this bear's favorite stop to mark his territory. Bears are incredibly resilient and heal very well. This bear got hit by a car at one point, and the bone has fused. We noticed he was a little thin, and it inhibited his foraging to a degree, but not to a degree where it jeopardizes his life. We've seen female bears having cubs that had old injuries such as crushed hips and broken femurs, dragging legs. They were able to get pregnant and have cubs, healthy cubs. But there is one detriment with this male bear that was injured by a car, in that he will have trouble defending himself from another male black bear. Life expectancy. The life expectancy of bears in the wild is up to 10 years, give or take. And in captivity, it can go over 20 years because of the quality of life. Florida black bear diet. Now, the diet depends, it varies depending on the season. And Florida black bears are omnivores, and about 80% of their diet is fruits, nuts, and veggies, and about 10 to 15% is both animal protein and insect protein, whichever comes first. Now, palms are a large part of the black bear's diet. Everything from the hearts to the nuts and fruits of palm trees, such as the fruit from the sable palm, and the saw palmetto berries are a big one as part of their diet. And also the hearts of palms. And you say, how can a bear get to a heart of palm? Well, even though a bear is very, very strong, what they do is when palms are young, bears will stand on either side of that palm. Say it's a palmetto palm. And with their mouth, they'll reach in the middle and pull out that heart from the center. And we can do that too. If you're hiking and really need something to eat, pull out the center of a small palmetto palm. It's very nourishing. So bears love palm trees. They love palm hearts. If the tree's short enough, maybe 6 to 8 feet, the bear will break off the top and eat the heart out of it. I worked on a case one time where a woman had planted $4,000 worth of palm trees, but the palm trees were only about 6 foot high. They were queen palms. And a bear in one night broke every one of them off and ate every single one of them. And she was so upset, but she lived direct smack dab in a bear area, and she basically just fed the bears a $4,000 dinner. In Florida, there is so much for the black bears to eat. There is, like the blackberries here, dewberries, beautyberry. There are so many different berries, gallberries, and then we have the passion fruit right there, and mulberry. So when it comes to fruits and veggies, they've got a ton to eat. And then as the seasons change, so does their diet. A normal caloric intake of Florida black bear is about 10,000 calories per day in the summertime up to August. And then when they get into August, they start to go in what's called hyperphagia. And if you break that up, hyper means a lot, phagia means eating. So because the winter's coming up, and even though they don't really hibernate in the state of Florida, they will almost go into a state of torpor, and that's when you see the females denning to have cubs from January to March. So at this time, from August on to January, they're building up their caloric intake. And it's generally over 20,000 calories per day. And they need that to sustain them through their inactive times. So that's when the insect protein comes into play, like these walking sticks, the Anisomorpha buprestoides, which is the two-striped walking stick, are like licorice sticks to bears. They love them. And so they're going to eat as many. And the walking stick is really prevalent in October. And that's when their mating is seen here, the little male on the back and the larger females. And they do squirt out a very noxious fluid, but the bears don't care. They just sit there and eat them. They get squirted all the time. They don't care. It's just really juicy, and they absolutely love them. So that adds to their protein intake. And it's boosted up from there to animal protein. During these months, the bears will seek out armadillos, raccoons, opossums, and to build up their animal protein. They'll also eat carrion. They eat deer carcasses. And between these months of hyperphagia, that's when you start to see your farm raids, your livestock raids. They will often get pigs, pet pigs, chickens, goats. We had one case where a bear killed 9 pigs inside a pig pen and drug off a 350-pound sow without breaking the fence. He just hauled her over the fence. Boar goats, 200-pound boar goat. So when I talk to people about keeping their livestock safe, I recommend putting donkeys in. A bear is afraid of donkeys, and most of the time they work on keeping the other animals safe. Another thing is hot wire, but it has to be done correctly for bears, not just single strand. And it's not to kill the bear, it just deters the bear. I'll have a how-to rig proper hot wire for bears in my how-to series coming up. Now for something more uplifting, poop. You can tell a lot from animal poop. Whether, bear poop, your domestic animal poop, you can tell if they're sick. When we worked in the zoo field, we could determine whether our animal was ill simply by the smell. And then there was also the texture. But during the summer months, you're going to find a lot of seeds and berries in the scat, the bear scat. A lot of dewberries and gallberries. And then as you move into winter, that's when you start to see the animal protein. It gets a lot thicker, much like dog poop. And that's when they're in hyperphagia then. Well, the only aberrant thing about the seasonal changes in the scat is if the bear has become accustomed to raiding farms for livestock, be it chicken or whatever, is then of course you're going to see a lot more animal protein in the scat. And so they may become habitualized to a farm raid in the summer. Okay, all, thank you very much for watching, and please hit that like button and subscribe if you would. And then stay tuned for the next episodes, which are going to be reproduction and then human-bear conflict. That'll be an interesting one. Thank you much, guys, and take care.